The presence of greatness is in the air, right? What's up, guys? Good to see you. Today I'm gonna be telling you the story about the time when I saw Trey Anastasio and Tedeschi Trucks backstage. It was like one of the coolest moments, and in my mind, like a rock and roll moment of history. So my band was playing at this festival called Peachfest, and I talked about it in some of my other videos, but it was the Allman Brothers kind of festival. They hosted it, and this was the last year that the Allman Brothers Band was playing, so it was also a special year for that. So my band Big Leg Emma was playing on the first day, I believe, so it was cool because we had been traveling quite a bit and touring and playing a lot of shows, and it was the end of summer, so we were really hot. I mean, we were really playing well, like all of our chops were moving right, and the band was really flowing, and we were super excited for this festival because we were playing with some amazing musicians, right? So we played on day one and it went really well, and then we got to stay for days 2 and 3 to enjoy the music and enjoy the scene, the music scene. And there were some great bands playing. The Allman Brothers Band played, Gov't Mule, Tedeschi Trucks Band, Trey Anastasio Band, a lot of local bands that we were friends with from the road, like Aqueous and a bunch of others. But yeah, it was a really cool family-friendly kind of vibe on this mountainside in northeastern Pennsylvania. So I was really excited because Trey was playing, and I'm also a Tedeschi Trucks fan, and you're aware that these talents are in the area, like backstage and on their buses and coming in, so the presence of greatness is in the air, right? So these are my lifelong heroes as far as musicians goes. And so I was backstage I think the second night, and Trey Band was playing, and there were a bunch of buses. There's 6 tour buses backstage, and they're all artists and bands and stuff. So in between 2 of these buses, it's like the middle of the day, middle of the afternoon, and I've been joining music all day, and then I'm backstage getting, maybe it's right after lunch, I think. So this is Saturday, and it's right after lunch, and I'm enjoying the atmosphere. It's so nice on the day after you play because the pressure's off, you've already done your thing, everybody's happy, you're feeling the warm, good vibes of music, right? And so in between these 2 buses, I'm walking by the main corral of great artist buses. So it's Tedeschi Trucks, the Allman Brothers, Warren Haynes, Trey, some other people. But in between these 2 buses, which are kind of at a V, so it's almost like the buses were touching noses and then branched out like this. So so the back of the buses are V-shaped. And I'm thinking that's probably to conserve space or so they can get all the gear out. For some reason, the bus drivers had parked these buses in this fashion, right? So I'm walking right by here, and I'm all by myself, which is actually, well, it's about half and half. At festivals, I like to spend half of my time alone, just taking in the vibe and seeing people and enjoying being a traveling musician. The other half, hey, come here. Stay. The other half of the festival, I'm hanging out with friends and family, and we move in groups. But for some reason, on this day, at this time, I was all by myself, and I'm walking behind these buses. And deep in the center of this triangle of 2 buses, I see Trey Anastasio talking with Tedeschi Trucks, both kind of backs to outwards like this, facing in, and they're it's an intimate conversation. You're whoa, those guys are talking about something really serious. There's some kind of deep musical conversation going on right now, because these guys would not be talking about something light. I doubt they were talking about TV shows. Or, hey, have you seen this on Netflix lately? No, that wasn't going on. It was music. You could tell just by the way that they were talking to each other that this was a musical conversation happening here. And I was like, holy cow, I am witnessing musical history right now. These two guys are concocting some plan that will unfold on all of music history within the next 3 hours or the next 3 years. Who knows what they could be planning to do a jam session in the next set that Trey Band does. Maybe Derek would come out, maybe in Tedeschi Trucks, Trey would sit in on that. Who knows what's going to happen here, but something's cool. It could be, hey, you want to sit in on my next album? It could be, you want to start a new band together. Who knows what was going on here? Maybe it was gear. Maybe they were talking about, like, hey, have you tried this amp? Have you tried this pedal? Maybe they were talking about other musicians that they like. Either way, something was going down, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like musical history. Two of my favorite guitar players and two of the probably top guitar players in the world are hashing out a plan in front of my eyes. I mean, the guitar player in me wanted to mosey on up and act like I belong there, which would have been ridiculous, because they'd be like, who the hell are you, dude? So yeah, it was an amazing little moment, and those things happen when you're on the road touring and you're in the grind of life of being a working musician. Occasionally you get to see things like that, and you try to relish them, because they really are moments that you wouldn't see anywhere else. And so that's definitely an access moment, I guess, or just a benefit of paying dues for so long that I could be backstage like that. And the other thing that it reminded me is, like, these guys are, music really is a devotion. These guys are working on this stuff all day long and all night, and they have dreams that they can put into action immediately. Like, when you have that type of access to such talent and such great players, and you're really immersed in your art, you can make things happen so fast. Like, all you have to do is call somebody up and put the idea in someone's ear, and if it's a good idea, magic can happen pretty fast. If it's not a great idea, it usually dies in the connection circuits. You mention it to one person, maybe that's a good idea, and then you just let it go. But if it's a good idea, you just talk to the right people, and boom, all of a sudden you got something going on. And then in the next couple years after that, well, first, before we get to that, both bands did amazing sets that weekend. Like Trey Band, I was like right in the front row, loving every note. I learned a lot of other things about gear and technique and what makes amazing guitar players in the jam band forum that weekend, which I'm going to share in a different video. But they both had amazing sets, like you would think they would. And I like to think that I had some special insider perspective onto how they played that weekend. And then in the upcoming years, I think it was maybe 1 or 2 years afterwards, Trey was sitting in with Tedeschi Trucks at some other festivals. I think they did a Lock-In Festival, and you could tell that there was a kinship growing. And then there was like, oh yeah, Trey really respects Derek Trucks, and Derek Trucks really respects Trey. There's like a mutual friendship there, and like a kinship amongst a musical brotherhood type of thing. So I think they started collaborating more after that moment. Now, had they been talking before that? Sure, they probably met many other times, and this maybe not have been a unique scenario, but it was certainly unique for me to see it from that perspective. So yeah, I take that moment with me everywhere I go. It also reminds me these are just normal dudes. You know, they jumped off the bus and like, hey man, I got an idea. Boom. That's how it happens. You know, you really need to be living it, and it's just organic. It just comes. You know. So that was the time I saw Trey Anastasio talking to Derek Trucks backstage between two buses in a V shape, with me standing in the corner going. No, I think I was a little cooler than that. I was probably like. Anyway, thanks for watching my video here. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and I'll see you in another video. Bye bye.